the chairmanship of SADC, we obviously looked at all the other chair who have been chairing the organization, what they've done, and we also have analyzed our position as a country, what we can contribute. But for the year, we have promised that we will do a thorough research, especially about all the countries, social, political, economical, and so on, and see what we can do, at least the contribution we can make in addition to the ones which the other leaders have been making. If you recall that the theme of this year was to mobilize resources for energy and so on, and we of course have a shortfall in there, that most of the countries, when it comes to economical activities, are not very strong because of lack of fundings and so on. So that in terms of implementation of programs.
Now, you mentioned quite prominently resource mobilization. What are your views on the painfully slow economic growth affecting the entire sub-region?
Well, we are very sad because, when you look at the whole continent in Africa, for instance, it's kind of slow. If you look at other regions around in the world, their economy is very, very strong. Their social and all structures very, very strong in many, many things. But when it comes to Africa, there's still many, many challenges. We still have shortfalls. Economical is not strong. Social unemployment, disease, and all these things, which is affecting the whole continent so rapidly. And even through the African Union, we have this Agenda 2063, that is to try and see how Africa, the whole of Africa, can become a better off place. But I think they're starting with the regions, with SADC and all the other regional groupings around. If we start there, then slowly we can move along, and eventually the whole of Africa becomes a very strong powerhouse. But I think it's important to first start with smaller countries as regional groupings, analyze what is the situation, what is the problem. Why don't we make serious, progress? Because we all of us have different programs that we wish to see implemented, and we wish to see our people living better lives and so on. I think it is high time we really analyze what is the situation, why such a difficulty is there, especially because when you look at most of the natural resource minerals that we have available to our disposal. But with all this disposal of minerals which are here in front of us, we still have many, many problems. Even in terms of getting people to give guarantee for the money, if we are asking to borrow money from there, and we can make use of the natural resources that we have, but we are unable to do that. So one has to find out what is the problem with all these minerals that we have. If we want to borrow a loan from somewhere outside beyond Africa, what is the difficulty in saying, okay, here are the minerals that we have, let's place the minerals against the loan and then go there. Maybe not one country doing it on its own.
Now, during the close of the SADC summit, which was here in Swaziland just last month, you promised to establish a SADC University of Transformation. Can you talk us through what form and shape the institution will take, and maybe you might as well talk to us about the cost of the infrastructure and about the funding of the project, and why you chose Swaziland as the host of the university, given the country's own challenges in terms of offering adequate funding for students at tertiary institutions.
Well, if one goes back many years, when SADC had the different portfolios, every country was given a certain portfolio. And the Kingdom of Eswatini, from many years, we were given the portfolio of education. And I'm sure you heard even during the summit how many leaders who have studied here in the kingdom. And it's not only leaders. If you go many places within our region, you find that CEOs of different corporates who are holding big positions. Most of them, they have either studied here or they are coming from here in the Kingdom of Eswatini. So we feel that, perhaps taking education as one of our priorities, since we were given in the past, that the kingdom has to continue with that program. We've started a good program. Many years ago, people were saying the education in Swaziland is good. So the issue now is not to reverse and go back. That people you would say, it used to be like that. No more. Now it is no more the case. And we want to change that. That's why I felt if we have a SADC university, which of course will train our young people, our youth, on innovation. Innovation is one of the very key things around the world that I've seen, that it has actually transformed many countries. I've been to Asia, Europe, where they have this kind of science and biotech, where they are producing billions from there. And I think if we have such a university which will train our people on innovation, then we are most likely that we can also get the very same billions that those who are in Asia or in Europe are making. But of course, without a very strong training and a very strong background, we cannot be able to achieve these results. So with a very strong university, the possibilities are there. Obviously, to do such a university will cost a lot of money. So we now have to look at ways and means how to establish that university. Already there are some organizations, especially which are running like science parks, or innovation parks around the world, which we are already in contact with them. And some of them have given assurance that they will also be part of this process of doing the university.
The fossil hominid sites at Sterkfontein Caves, known as Cradle of Humankind, were declared a World Heritage Site on the 2nd of December 1999. The Cradle of Humankind covers an area of over 47,000 hectares of privately owned land northwest of Johannesburg. Most of the site is on dolomite, a rock type which is slightly soluble in water. There are currently over 200 caves on the site and 13 fossil sites. We know that Australopithecus africanus were present in the cradle from about 2 to 4 million years ago. It is generally known that hominids are close relatives of human ancestors.
They say you can judge a nation's greatness by how it takes care of those who cannot take care of themselves.
Dolakanang started on the initiative of the NG Church.
Bana ba 29 from 10 years we are 18. Bana bana ba tswa ka mahaeng a different. Ba bang ba neglected ke batswadi, ba bang ha bana batswadi totally, ha ona batho ba hlokomelang.
It's the little things that mean so much more to the family of Bulukanang Youth Care Center.
Don't let your current circumstance determine who fetsa bokae.
We celebrate these young ones with gifts of encouragement, hoping this moment will forever bring joy as they persevere.
Ornale, a very big surprise for you guys. Tomorrow, local Paralympic players are Chiefs the Celtic. Because
we say baie dankie wat hulle vir ons kos gegee en alles wat die klere en die mooiste goedes wat ons gegee.
We are extremely thankful for what was done by the SABC today, because I don't think you people realize what a big donation it is.
We salute those who raise a nation. SABC Foundation, inspiring greater possibilities.
Your take on African leaders who sort of manipulate the constitution just to hold on to power?
Well, people always speak about how they want to be governed, and it is important to listen to the people, because by listening to the people, you are helping the situation. If the people say we want to be governed in this way, there will be no problem. There will be nobody who will come and perhaps try and use force because they want their message to be heard, because they know that they've made a resolution that this is the way how they want to be governed. The same thing here, which applies in the kingdom, which I'm sure it applies to the rest of many other countries within Africa, that we rule by consensus. We rule by always listening to the people, what the people are asking, and any decision that the people make, that once it is made by the whole nation, then by all means one should abide by that rule. Because if you divert from that situation, then you find yourself that you are going to now try and solve the situation by using the barrel of the gun. And yet the barrel of the gun, it has demonstrated around the world that it's no solution to no one. There is no problem that can be found by using the barrel of the gun. The only way we can always find solutions is always by talking, dialogue. If you dialogue to each other, come to an understanding, people, whatever decision is there, they feel we are part of that decision, or whatever position the leader wants to put himself, the people around should always say, we are part of what this person is doing, and therefore there will be no problems. There will always be peace and stability in that country.
Your Majesty, speaking of the barrel of the gun, as you mentioned, we've seen reports in the Democratic Republic of the Congo of dozens of people dying as a result of violence emanating from President Joseph Kabila's intention to run for a third term, and very much against the constitutional dictates. And we've also seen anti-Mugabe sentiments brewing again in Zimbabwe, and as well as renewed conflict between Renamo and Frelimo in Mozambique. What is your take on the emerging conflicts within the SADC region, and how do you aim to tackle that within, as you assume the chair?
Well, Gongwane, since we are promoting peace and stability in our region, we feel a region which will be strong and which will grow economical, strong economical, then we need to maintain the peace and stability. Where there are problems, we encourage that people should really sit down and discuss this problem. Instead of using the barrel of the gun, the best way is to sit down in a round table, find where it's the difference, because there it is better. If you don't agree, you come back tomorrow, and then if you do not agree, you come back tomorrow. at least that is good. But when you use the barrel of the gun, people get to be killed and so on. So the next day you have more and more problems. The loved ones of the ones perhaps who have moved away from this life will want to revenge, and so that is why you can see that using the barrel of the gun is not the answer. The answer is to dialogue, and the answer is the people, what the people of their country want, because people of the country are the best people who know the solution better for any individual country. It cannot be one person deciding on behalf of everyone that this is the way, this is life, how it's going to be, because every person in this world thinks differently. And since they all think differently, then, even if when you're a leader, you have a duty to listen to this one or that one, and respect even their opinion of what they are saying, and listen, and not just listen, but even act on it, because in that way it will help the situation. So it is, of course, unfortunately, that we still see this pocket of problems even within our region, which still tries to pop up. But we are grateful that the SADC Troika on defense and security, it is there, and it is doing a very good job. Where there are problems, it is sent there to deal with the situation. Just when the situation is perhaps is beginning to boil up, instead of the situation allow it to erupt totally and becoming a situation where we can no longer control it. We try to make sure that if a situation is just beginning to pop up, we should contain the situation and not to allow it to escalate more. We've seen, other places in Africa where people, where the situation perhaps got out of line, and then there was escalation of violence, and then of course the results afterwards are so huge. And the cost for all of us to bear if we allow a situation to reach that stage is very huge. So it is important that as SADC, we should make sure that where there are problems, we are there to solve and to give support and to give guidance, peaceful guidance throughout those problems.
The Kalahari Transportier Park is a large wildlife preserve and conservation area in southern Africa. Kalahari means place of thirst. The total area is 38,000 square kilometers. Approximately 3/4 of the park lie in Botswana and 1/4 in South Africa. South Africa embraced the concept of transportiers linking ecological reserves across national borders. On the 12th of May 2000, President Festus Mogae of Botswana and Thabo Mbeki of South Africa formally launched South Africa's first peace park. It has 200 species of birds, including vultures, mammalians such as black Kalahari lions, and large herds of herbivores, namely elands, springboks, blue wildebeest, and more.
A meteorite hit the Earth 2 million years ago, creating an enormous impact of crater, about 10 kilometers in diameter near Vredefort in the Free State, 100 kilometers southwest of Johannesburg, now known as the Vredefort Dome, a South African World Heritage Site. The meteorite is said to have been larger than Table Mountain and caused a 1,000 megaton blast of energy. The impact would have heated about 70 cubic kilometers of rock and and have increased the Earth's oxygen levels to a degree that made the development of multicellular life possible. The world has about 130 crater structures of possible impact origin. The Frederick Dome is the largest in the world, followed by Sudbury Crater in Canada and the Chicxulub Crater in Mexico.
Your counterparts, Your Majesty, in the region are going through immense pressure to step down, notably South Africa's President Jacob Zuma and the DRC's President Joseph Kabila, as well as Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe. And we've seen just a couple of days ago your predecessor, Botswana's President Ian Khama, telling President Mugabe to step down. Do you think they should? Do you think that's the solution? Because the argument, Your Majesty, is that they've tried all the opponents have tried all the other avenues and they've probably failed.
Well, I guess each country has to make the decision with the leader that this is how we want to be governed, and when it is time for that leader to say now it is time perhaps to move on, is because every country has got a constitution that they should be able to follow. So one, of course, has to read in detail what is the constitution contains and so on, what are the terms for the president, and has he come to his conclusion of his term of office, and if he has, then by all means the constitution is there, and thanks God that usually we have the three arms of governance, which talks about the judiciary and the legislature and the executive. If one arm perhaps is in conflict with the nation at large, then the other arm is there to restore confidence. So that's why one looks at all these structures within every country. Because every country, I know that they have these three arms of governance, of government, that is the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. If the executive, there's a little bit of a challenge, we hope the legislature together with the judiciary can be there looking at the constitution, because the constitution always spelled out very, very clear what needs to be done.
Your Majesty, so much has been said about you and the country, so much has been written and reported about you in international media, but then in the mix of that, you've hardly been given an opportunity, if at all, to respond to your projects. Now, there it is. What's your analysis of the political situation in the country?
Well, Ngoman, I always feel very unfortunate, very sad to see those who say things about the king, because I can see that they really have no clue on what they are saying. They have no clue on how this country is governed. If they give themselves time to come here to see, first of all, look at the peace and the stability that we have. It's one thing that you can feel walking from one corner of this country to the other corner. You don't feel any pressure at all. It is because the people, they love, they respect the monarchy, which is a very good thing. And we are all of us working together. The monarchy don't rule in isolation. The monarchy rules with the people in this country. For instance, if there are any major decisions to be taken, political, economical, socially, we call the whole nation together and we discuss the issues. Not so long ago, before SADC came, we had we call it the People's Parliament, where the whole nation gathers together. They discuss all sorts of issues. They are given the mandate to discuss anything that they see that it needs to be addressed. And it's not only there where it ends. Once the Sibaya, which is the parliament's people, has concluded its part, we then go to the region, because it's not everyone who can manage to perhaps come to the center of the area. We set up commissions which go out there to gather a lot of information and so on. And that information has helped us to govern this country. It is the information which is always coming from the Swazi people, and who are saying this country should be governed in this way. Obviously, the people of this country want to be unique. They have a system which is very unique, but it's a homegrown system coming from the people with grassroots participation. Every Swazi participate, and every Swazi feels whatever decision has been taken, that I am also part of that decision. There's no one who feels that I am out, or I am outsider, or something like that. The proof is that's why we have peace, that's why we have stability, that's why we continue to progress. We are working together. So for those who perhaps sometimes have got their own perception, I would encourage them to visit the kingdom and have a look. They will understand very well the situation of this country.
So Swaziland continues, Your Majesty, to be considered as a pariah state insofar as granting political freedoms to its people. So how do you aim to use your position as the incumbent chair of SADC to change that perception about the country?
Well, I'm sure people with time, as they give themselves more time, they will appreciate the situation of this country, and the more they come here, the fact that SADC came here, it's a sign that SADC is with the kingdom, is supporting the kingdom. They can see that there is peace, there is stability. They were here, they could see that most things that we were doing, we did them very professional and so on, in the manner which any country would do so. So, with time, I'm sure others, and I'm sure maybe also from our part, we need to educate more and more people about our systems. Perhaps they don't understand the system very well.
Then it's been an absolute pleasure having you on SABC. Thank you so much for your time, and all the best in your new role.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Siyabonga.